On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're visiting the absolutely darling home of Melissa Smrekar, who describes her personal design style as Town and Country Tenenbaum.
People all the time come in and are like, gorgeous rug. Where is this vintage rug from? I'm like, it is from rugsusa.com. And it's probably my favorite rug I've ever bought. So it is the indestructible, pet-proof rug. So that's it, the high-low mix.
She has packed her 1,500 square foot home full of personality, pizzazz, and more vintage items than you can imagine. She is so much fun and her home is a delight.
The interesting thing about this room is absolutely everything in here, besides the wallpaper, is secondhand. So I've sourced things from Goodwill and Salvation Army and things from my childhood home. I love a chintzy drape, and these were from Goodwill. So I got the two panels for like $8, I think, total.
A big thank you to Omaze for sponsoring today's Homeworthy episode. Omaze gives people the chance to dream big and win one-in-a-lifetime prizes, all while helping nonprofits make the world a better place. To date, they have raised over $150 million for charity, with a goal to raise over $1 billion in a single year. What if I told you that you could win your very own tiny home valued at $130,000? Well, it's time to dream big and do it tiny. This is your wildest tiny home fantasy come to life. For your chance to win this custom tiny home, go to omaze.com/homeworthy and enter now. The winner will get to design the dwelling of their dreams with True Form Tiny, and with a budget of $130,000, you can design your dream tiny home and turn it into a live-in ready reality. Donations support the amazing work of the National Park Foundation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Melissa, which means honeybee in Greek. Welcome to my Dallas home. Come on in. Hi, my name is Melissa Smrekar. We are in my 1,500 square foot home in the Lakewood neighborhood of Dallas, Texas. So when I started looking for a house, thankfully I really don't suffer from analysis paralysis. I'm very decisive. So I probably only saw 5 homes, and I would instantly walk in and my realtor would be like, what do you think? And I'd be like, I hate it. So when I saw this house, it really felt like me. And I put an offer in the same day. I actually didn't get it. And then there was this massive storm in Dallas where the electricity was out for a few days. And during that, the original person who they accepted the offer for backed out, and they called me, and it was my house. And it always felt like my house. So I was really surprised originally when I didn't get it. So when I first purchased the home, the previous owner had made a lot of really nice renovations to this home, which is a 1939 home. And so I can always see past paint colors and light fixtures and that kind of thing. Her style wasn't my style. It was a lot more bohemian. But I could see, I liked the natural light. It was the right size. It's only 1,500 square feet, but it makes really good use of 1,500 square feet and has things that I want, which is like a big kitchen and a nice yard. This is my living room. So you walk in the front door into this living room, which is true a lot of the time for 1939 homes. Probably the statement piece in this living room is my olive green velvet sofa with this white piping. This is the first piece of custom furniture that I've ever purchased. So for me, I really knew that I wanted a green velvet sofa. I'm very particular about shades of green. So I hand selected this velvet. And it was made by Society Social in North Carolina, and I love the piping on it. So that's, that was a big deal because that's like my first big girl grown up piece of furniture. And then probably after that, my birds here. So this is Gucci wallpaper that you've maybe seen before, but when I had these done, this was new to Gucci, and I bought the wallpaper and I had them framed. It's actually on like a core board. So these weigh like nothing, and had them framed as a way to just go around the window. So people always comment, they say swans, but they're actually herons. Get your birds right. So I love swans, but these are herons. And so those frame the room really nicely. As far as window treatments go, the thing nobody tells you on these home tours is that nothing is more insanely overpriced than window treatments. Nobody's telling you this, that if I wanted to get this Schumacher fabric here to make window treatments, I would need 30 yards of it, and it's $150 a yard. So not feasible for me or many. So one of my little tricks that I like to do with window treatments is take something neutral and then add a designer trim to it. So this is a Samuel & Sons trim, which is my very favorite. They have beautiful trims. And then, so I picked this, the black giant rickrack, because there's black in the fireplace, which you'll see. And I just take it to my local tailor and I'm like, this is what I want. And if I give very careful instructions as far as how to sew something on or the placement, they do a great job. So you can make something semi-custom in your own, because, you know, I'm not spending $5,000 on a drape. So this is my entryway catch-all table, and I made this very recently. So I found this a significant amount of yardage at just a little thrift store, and I love the pink cabana stripe. And then I also found an excess of this trim, so I picked that up. Both of them are a couple dollars each, and I just, like most people take their jeans to get hemmed at their local tailor, I'm like, will you make me a skirted entryway table? And if you draw out exactly what you're looking for, they do a great job for, you know, hardly anything. So I got this beautiful skirted entryway table for about $15. People all the time come in and are like, gorgeous rug. Where is this vintage rug from? I'm like, it is from rugsusa.com. And it's probably my favorite rug I've ever bought. So it is the indestructible pet proof rug. So that's it, you know, the high-low mix. So twice a year, there is an antique show in a very tiny Texas town called Round Top. Normally the town has a population of 90 people. And then 2 times a year in April and October, people descend from all over the world for this incredible antique show. There's a bunch of different shows. And my very favorite one is called Marburger. It is the creme de la creme of Round Top. If you ever go, that's the show. And I got this gorgeous pencil reed table from there. I love it. The thing about Round Top is it starts at 9 o'clock. There's literally policemen on horses who blow a whistle. And when they blow a whistle, women start running. And I would say within 2 hours, everything has a sold sticker on it. So it's like, if you see something you like, time is of the essence. And yeah, that was my last Round Top purchase. So fireplace here. So the unique thing about this bench is that it's exactly the same color, velvet, and piping as the sofa. This is from the 60s and this is from 2019. And if you hold them side by side, they're exactly the same. So I got this at as an estate sale for, I think, $30. It's a perfect match. So those estate sale finds are sprinkled all throughout. We all know about the frame TV. People, you know, it's supposed to look like art on the wall. It looks like a TV. It just looks like a nice TV, just for the record, if you're ever thinking about buying one. I am a corporate fundraiser for a presenting Broadway theater here in Dallas and a gal of many hobbies outside of that. Many hobbies are, I play mahjong, I needlepoint, I have a needlepoint collection, I write, I perform comedy, I love to decorate. And then I have a lot of books, and at one point in time, these were alphabetical. Hopefully they still are. I'm very type A, so they are theoretically in alphabetical order. I collect heron pieces. All that means something. I went to the University of North Carolina. I have a gorgeous black standard poodle named Tippy. You'll see a lot of poodle things throughout the house. Gwynnie, Tippy. Those are their little paw prints right there. So anyway, the bookcases, I think, are the only IKEA thing in this house. And then I just painted them the color of the walls, which is my all-time favorite color. It's Farrow and Ball setting plaster. It looks like the color of a crumbly Italian villa, and it really changes through the day. So, you know, the light moves through my house at all different points, and it can look pink in certain lights, but it also is a very beautiful neutral. So if you can get away with a semi-pink color in your house, setting plaster is chef's kiss. So good. Okay, so the chairs are also from Society Social. And just like I talked about the fabric before, I ended up doing 2 different fabrics. So the Schumacher on the outside so that I didn't have to buy as much yardage, and then a performance fabric on the front because I have pets and that worked better for my lifestyle. So that's a good way to save some money too as far as yardage and how the repeat goes. In a small space, swivel chairs are obviously great so that they can face the TV, or if you're just having conversation, face the person you're talking to. So the Mahjong table is a trip because actually this is a 1960s Italian inlay game table. It has a different top, which is stored under my sofa right now. And I really was looking for this particular game table, and I found it on eBay in a tiny little Texas town, and I bought it on eBay. I go to pick it up. It's in, I kid you not, a beauty parlor / thrift shop. So there's all these, thrift items you can sort through. And there were 2 ladies getting their roots done at the same time in chairs in the middle of the thrift store. Apparently these tables were really popular souvenirs for women to buy in the 60s when they took a trip on the island of Capri. So I've heard that anecdotally from people. They're like, oh, my grandma got that when she went to Capri in the 60s. So it has a chessboard, a backgammon board, the felt, which is for cards, and then underneath it, it has a roulette wheel. So we can party. This is my cat, Gwenny. She loves the camera, as we can see. I just played in my first tournament. I've only been playing Mahjong for about 6 months, and in the spirit of overdoing things no one asked me to do, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play in a tournament. And I show up, it's all ladies in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. Most of the women I played against have been playing for more than 50 years. I thought I was going to play 4 games, and it was 4 rounds of four games. I played 16 consecutive Mahjong games and ordered takeout on the way home and was like, no one talked to me. Like, I am spent. It was the most mentally exhausted I've been in 10 years. You know what? My goal for the day was to win 1 game, and I won 3 games, including against a former tournament champion. And I'm like, you know what, Nancy? I'm going to be telling everyone about this. And she's like, you should. And she asked me if I was 18. I'm 36, so.
So it was a good day.
I was like, this is a win. This is a win for me. I got 3. I'm going to brag about this for years. When people ask me to describe my aesthetic, I think that's a really hard thing to answer without sounding like a douche. Like, it is just, like, every time people say it, they're like, it's traditional, but with a twist. It's like everyone says the same thing. So collectively, I pulled the internet for them to determine how to describe my style. And we came up with Town and Country Tenenbaum, which I feel like is a really good little way to encapsulate my home style. So to me, I would describe Town and Country Tenenbaum as a use of non-traditional color pairings. Like, you'll see that I love what I call a calamine lotion pink with martini olive green. I love that as a combination. That feels like very true to me. And just taking things that maybe don't seem to go together, but I like the colors together and to mix old and new. And I have these gorgeous old vintage pieces with, then you'll have something from Target. And so to me, it's just that blend from both spectrums, but also, I don't describe myself as quirky, but I definitely hear that a lot. Other people describe me in that way, so I think that's part of it. Welcome to my dining room here. The table and the china cabinet were actually from my childhood home growing up. So this set was the first thing that my dad bought for my mom after they got married, and he always says, I made payments on it. And it's really special to them that I have it in my house now. So many Christmas Eve dinners and special celebrations around this table. And that's important to me, just that it's part of my family's history and that we've had special times together. So one of the only things I didn't change cosmetically when I moved into the house is this wallpaper was already here. So this is a Scalamandre wallpaper called Raphael. It's actually inspired by the trees of Central Park in New York. And so I kept that here. Green is my favorite color. I thought it looked beautiful, and I don't want to rip something apart just for the sake of doing it. And so because it was inspired by the trees of Central Park, I had a friend paint me these Bemelmans inspired pieces because also the scenes at Bemelman's Bar at the Carlisle Hotel in New York take place in Central Park. So that's the reference there. It's one of my very favorite places in New York City. And so I work in theater, meaning I have a lot of creative friends. And there's an older gentleman who works at the theater who's a painter from Ukraine. He does beautiful work. And so I sent him a few pictures of my favorite scenes from nights at Bemelman's. And he painted these for me. People always think they're prints, but he's just a very, very talented painter. And I'm so happy to have those in here. So this room reminds me of just favorite weekends in New York City. And that's a nod to those. So I think I thrive in like an 8-person dinner party environment. I'm not good in a giant group, but you give me 7 friends and having them over for dinner, and that's like my favorite thing in the world. So I love to have dinner parties here. For the record, I will normally move this table out. I have an extra leaf. I do not believe in making your guests sit on bench seating because we all need lumbar support. So just for the record, any of my friends would be like, bench seating. So anyway, it's warm a lot of the time of the year here. So it's set for friends to come over for dinner. And even if I'm just going to order pizzas for the group, I think it's fun to set the table. I love these monogram linens. They're from a store in Dallas called Madison. They have the beautiful raised monogram, and they just make it special. The tried and true Reese Witherspoon quote is like, if it's moving, put a monogram on it. And that is a very Southern philosophy. So I do love a monogram, but I also enjoy a 2-letter monogram, or I love when people monogram something with their nickname on it. So you'll see a little of that in the house too. So since this was my first home, I did not want to be a first-time homeowner and undergo a massive renovation. So everything I've done in the house has been cosmetic. And also that made it more palatable for me from a budget perspective, because obviously it's a lot easier and less expensive to paint walls and change light fixtures than it is to gut a kitchen. So I've pretty much changed all of the light fixtures in the house. I've painted most of the rooms. I love wallpaper, which you'll see. So there's a lot of wallpaper, and honestly just, filled it with things that I love that have a story. You can walk around this house and you will. And anything you ask me about, there's a reason it's there and why it's important to me and why it's in my house. This is my kitchen that we're in right now. It's not original to the 1939 house because kitchens were significantly smaller back then. And it was definitely one of the selling points of this home for me. It has these beautiful floors, which I don't see very often here in Dallas, but I love them. And they also, hide things very well. If you have a spill or drop something, it's just very easy to clean up these floors. So when I moved into the space, it had this huge mid-century light fixture that I just absolutely hated. And it was so I replaced it with these. These are a bent birchwood pendant lights. They weigh hardly anything, and they remind me of bows. Like, they remind me of like a gift bow, and I just really love them, and I think they're special and just something a little bit different. And they balance out the fact that I have this, heavy kitchen island here, and then the very light fixtures. So when I moved in, the island was actually one of the most challenging things to figure out what to put here, because it needed something, and I searched high and low, and I found what I thought was going to purchase, this gorgeous vintage draper's table from France that I found on First Dibs. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to pay all this money to get it over here. And then I found this island at Crate and Barrel. So people are always like, where did you get that? Was it custom? And I'm like, it's from Crate and Barrel. But it was perfect for the space, and obviously it makes cooking, or, you know, people always congregate in the kitchen. That's just what people do. So it's been very good. I think all the time people associate me with this big concrete swan planter, which I found again at a little thrift store. I love this swan very much, and I do not have a green thumb whatsoever. So the fact that I've kept this ivy along for 2 years is like a significant win in my life. So take them where you get them. And that's how I feel about my swan. This is really kind of a prop, if I'm being honest. Like, no, I don't make a lot of juice, but I think it looks nice in the kitchen. I would say I've never made juice with this juicer, but it's cute. It's very cute. Every space that I live in, I like to give a nickname to, just as a way to mark a period in my life. So I call this house Melon House. And that's because when I moved in, I was reading a biography of Bunny Mellon. And she's, you know, a very famous arborist, horticulturist, art philanthropist, known for her interior design. And because I decided to keep the tree wallpaper in the dining room, I nicknamed this house Melon House. So you'll see that in little places. People give me things. Let's say that. So this is my little bar area here. When I moved in, it had this wine fridge. I'm actually not a big drinker, so it's definitely a goal of mine to just fill it with Diet Cokes as my home tour. But anyway, so I needle pointed this club pour only. A club pour is very generous. It's a place that gives you a very generous pour. And in my house, whatever you're drinking, I'm gonna top it off. And I found this little set. I actually found half of it one place, half of it another place. But it's a vintage Fitz and Floyd set inspired by the Danish sculptor Bjorn Windblad. His pieces appear in Neiman Marcus restaurants that are very beloved here in Dallas. So this little set reminds me of that. So these chairs here I absolutely love. I got both of them for a total of $40 on Facebook. And they're called Italian grotto stools. You'll see these a lot in Palm Beach, which is another place that I love. But I bought them for $40 on Facebook Marketplace. And then I picked this Lily Wallace fabric to have them recovered. Obviously, this bluish green color is a perfect tie-in to the backsplash here in the kitchen. So this was a really easy project. And again, repurposing something old to give it new life is what I feel so strongly about what makes your house your house. I am a 4th generation Dallasite, which has become rarer and rarer. I love this city. It will always be home to me. And I always say that, like, in my Dallas, all are welcome here. And I hope that everyone who comes to Dallas finds it to be a friendly, welcoming place for people from all walks of life. Dallas is completely over the top. The way I would describe Dallas is that in the too much is never enough in Dallas, right? 10 minutes ago, I had hot rollers in my hair before you got here, which is so Dallas because we really are a bigger the hair, closer to God kind of place. And there's really no too much. You can't be overdressed here. You can't overdo it. If it dips below 70, the minks come out in Dallas. Like, we're like, the one time a year I can wear this? Okay. And I think that, so in the sense that everything's bigger in Texas, that is probably, Dallas is the pinnacle of that, in the sense of there is a lot of wealth in this city, but there's also people who love color and really being over the top. And your too much is not too much here. This is my hallway that leads to my bedroom and the guest bedroom as well. So a lot of my favorite art pieces I put here in the hallway. They all have a special meaning to me. I have this paper mache giraffe that I got at John Deerean in New York because I just really like him, especially leading from kind of the Bemelmans elements of the dining room. So he's paper mache. My mom's like, I don't like it, but I do, and it's my house. So that's the good part, right? Is when you're a grown up and you get to just like do whatever you want. Sometimes I can't believe it. So this is my hall closet, and I keep all of my coats and my board games here. I love games, as you know. And even though I'm a Texan, I really love coats. So I have a lot of these what are called quick escape coats that my friend Jennifer, who has a brand called Sweet in New York City, that she makes for me, and I love them very much. That's what I'm wearing today. And then I also love vintage coats. So this is my most recent find here. It also has a little matching shift dress underneath it. I say, like, people always tell me it gives Jackie O First Lady vibes, but I think it gives Commander in Chief. I think that's what it gives. So someday when I run for office, this coat will come back. So here are my coats by Sweet. This I wear a lot. This is so Dallas. This tencel coat here is a very useful thing in my closet because I think it looks cute with jeans, or like over your shoulders for something black tie is really fun. And then she just made me this one because it has the pink and green, which is my favorite color combination. And then she's such a sweet friend that on the inside, she put a little poodle print, and the poodle is saying, "Happy birthday, dear so-and-so," which is just a little tongue-in-cheek, kind of suits my personality. So I love the coats. People always say that this game closet reminds them of the Royal Tenenbaums. There's a scene in the game closet. So that's probably part of where the Town and Country Tenenbaum came from. I did wallpaper the closet. So this wallpaper is by a brand called Flat Vernacular, which is in New York City. The print is called Too Much Stuff, and it has tiny little icons of all sorts of stuff, from like a trick-or-treating pumpkin to a basketball to, you know, hot dog or whatever. And it's really the perfect wallpaper for a closet for a gal with too much stuff. I actually bought it probably 7 years ago when I lived in an apartment because it was a sample sale, and I just love this wallpaper, and I will transport it from apartment to apartment until it finds its landing place, which happened to be a hall closet. So in here we have, this is the guest bathroom here. And I would say when I moved in, it had this very modern Moroccan tile, and this was just white, this vanity, and people would be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this bathroom." And I'd be like, "Thank you, I hate it." It was fine, but it like did not suit the personality of this house. And so this was definitely my version of a non-reno, is making this my own. I'm probably the only person in history who took out the modern tile and actually put in this pink hexagon penny tile in the bathroom, which I love. And similarly with the living room, that I have a black fireplace, I definitely follow the Dorothy Draper philosophy that like a room should have a touch of black as like a grounding source, especially in a really feminine space like mine. I think black is good. And I have the shower has black and white tile in it, so I had to work with that, and ended up doing this Pierre Fry print, which is actually of an Argentinian landscape, but it features a blooming agave, and that reminds me of my family's ranch in the Texas Hill Country. So that's why I chose this fabric. It's a nod to my family and the ranch. So I bought this vintage movie poster. It's from 1957 of a film called Sorority Girl, and I haven't even seen the movie. I'm sure it's like campy and very bad, but I'm kind of your non-typical sorority gal, and so it's definitely just a tongue-in-cheek feature, and I really love the typography in it. And of course, the pink and kind of lemonade yellow is a fun color combination, so I like having that in here. I'm always on the hunt for new things. My house is never done. If you came back in 2 months, a lot of things would be different in different locations. So I joke that when I die, I want my things to either be sold at auction at Christie's or for someone to burn all of them, because the idea of like people rifling through all of my treasures and trying to, just see what will go for the most money on eBay, like haunts me and truly tortures me, because I go to a lot of estate sales. I love estate sales, and people don't always know how to behave at them. So when I go to an estate sale, I really try to think about the person who lived there, and I never criticize what people buy, because this is, if you go to an estate sale, most likely this person has just passed away. And even if it's not your taste, like this is their life. Like these are their things. These are what they loved and spent money on. And, So I just try to really like think about that and never be critical of what's in someone's home. And when I do buy something from an estate sale, like I don't mean this, I really genuinely mean that like I try to honor the person who this was their thing. And I think it does that by giving it a second life and having that carry on and be beautiful and treasured in my own home. My favorite thing about this home is that everyone who knows me, when they walk in, they say, it looks like you. And I think that's all anybody ever really wants in their house, is for it not to look like what's trending and as far as home design, or that they, purchased a room, So every time somebody walks in and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so you. And they don't even know what they mean when they say that. It's just that it encapsulates my personality, and I like that. So this is the primary bedroom, and actually it probably, from a design point of view, doesn't make the most sense to have the bed on this wall, but I absolutely believe in using your home for what works best for you because you're the one in it. And I love looking at my backyard, laying in bed and waking up in the morning. So that's why the bed is here. And this wallpaper is probably one of my greatest finds ever. So this is a vintage Tebow wallpaper, and I found it on eBay, and there were only 4 rolls listed, and I needed, I think, like 36 rolls probably. There were only 4 listed, and I reached out to the lady to ask if she had any more, and she said she did, and I said, okay, well, will you take $200 for all of it? And so I think I got 36 rolls of Tebow wallpaper for $200. So the actual installation of the wallpaper was a lot more expensive than the wallpaper itself. But since green is my favorite color, obviously magnolias are very southern, and it has a little greenbrier quality to it, being surrounded. But the wallpaper, people ask me about it all the time, and I'm like, Godspeed, because I don't know how I got that deal. But that's kind of the thing. If you see something you really like and you need a higher quantity, just reach out. You never know. This is the Queen of the Castle, lays here. So the needlepoint pillow on my bed, I needlepointed that. The tennis white's required on court. And then I had leftover fabric from the chairs that you saw in the living room, the Schumacher. So that's just another way to use those scraps. Always be sure to ask for the leftovers back or they will disappear. And I use leftover fabric scraps for all sorts of stuff. I think it's a nice way to like tie in other aspects of your house into different rooms and kind of carry it on. And that contributes to someone walking in and just saying like, oh, it feels like you, because they see all these little pieces connect together even without maybe knowing that off the top of their head. So this piece that's next to my bed, A Sullen Child, is a poster. I have a one-woman comedy show. I write and perform nonfiction comedic essays. And before the pandemic, I did this show called A Sullen Child. The origin of that name is that when I was a little girl applying for kindergarten, that's how they described me to my parents, as a sullen child, which of course is like a ridiculous thing to assign to a 6-year-old, but I always knew my whole life I would repurpose that. And, having it for a comedy show is kind of perfect. The artwork, so I have a charm bracelet that I love and is important to me. That particular show is stories of girlhood. A lot of times a charm bracelet is the first piece of jewelry a girl receives. So that's why that's the image for that. And actually it was inspired by a 50s Girl Scout handbook. And then each charm on there references something in the story. So again, like someone can just take it at face value of like cool piece of art, but I know every single charm on there references an aspect of the story and, contributes to the whole, which is how I feel about decorating my house too. Like each little thing means something, but the whole picture is you. So I'm proud of that. I'm a collector, as most people who are not minimalist happen to be. And one of the things I love to collect are vintage costume jewelry, mostly from the 60s. So I have a lot of my lovely kind of cocktail rings and earrings, all of which are clips here. And, my various collections of scarves and hats and coffee table books and headbands and, poodle references. And then I have some, vintage luggage that I actually do travel with. I don't know if people think those are props, but I went to Paris in February and that's what I took on the plane, and all the flight attendants were like, "Oh, who designed that retro luggage?" And I'm like, "Oh no, it's just actually old." So it's not vintage inspired, it's just old 1960s luggage. But anyway, yeah. I think from a design perspective, there's not a single person that I look to as far as pulling design inspiration, because it really is just the stories of my life. I am, of course, fascinated by the 1960s, especially the idea of something looking so polished and perfect on the outside, but really that not telling the full picture. And I think that, in 2022 and, what you see on the internet isn't the whole story. Like, people are presenting such beautiful aspects of their lives and even something like this, but there's always going to be a closet full of stuff you didn't want on camera. And I think, that's true of the 1960s. That's true of today. So no, there's not a single person, or definitely not from a design perspective. There's people I look up to, like Nora Ephron is a hero of mine, as someone who's a writer, and she made beloved like rom-coms, like You've Got Mail, that kind of thing. But I really look to people like that. So it's not design necessarily. It's just women who inspire me in general. And I always say that I think of my house as my own rom-com set. And, sometimes there's more com than rom. But yeah, I think of my house as my own little set, and you never know what could unfold. So I have a closet full of things I actually wear on a day-to-day basis. And then I have a pretty closet, and this is the pretty closet of all of my favorite shoes and party dresses. So I'm like queen of the impractical shoe at like at a practical height. So they're all like very impractical shoes, but at practical height, so I actually do wear them. My favorites are probably, I needle pointed these. So those are kind of great. They're Stubbs and Wooten, but I needle pointed them. Actually, I made this shoe and my mom made this shoe, and I sort of like that as I'm walking through life, I've got a little piece of her with me. So those are definitely up there. I can pick favorites with anything. That's like not a challenge for me. So these are probably my favorites right now. These little gold sequin Miu Mius with the pearl. But again, a sensible heel. My family lives on a ranch. I have actual boots that I wear on the ranch that are like made for traipsing through pastures. These are the Dallas boots, which are really for like charity events. So Yeehaws are by a Dallas brand called Mir and Crosby. They make beautiful, fun cowboy boots. These are, I've worn one time, and they were for a like rock and roll themed fundraiser. Highly impressed. Worn once, but you know what? Should the theme arise, I'm ready. And then these are probably my favorite little gold arrow boots they're by Lou Casey. They were inspired by a 1950s pair of cowboy boots. It's getting old, me saying that, huh? Yeah, and all my party dresses, and I collect vintage handbags too. So those are all up there. So I have this big, beautiful, open, bright bathroom with a giant shower, which of course, I'm a bath gal. So that's the way these things go, right? And here I painted these cabinets. They're my favorite shade of green, which is Alligator Alley by Benjamin Moore. If you remember that like famous home tour of Dakota Johnson where she's in her kitchen and she's like, I love limes. I'm obsessed with limes. Her kitchen is painted this color. So you never know, from watching a home tour, you might be like, that's the color. That's the color I want right there. So that's that. And probably the most like nice thing I have in this entire bathroom are these handles, which were like hand forged by a bronzista in Florence. I didn't know that was a word. And I love them because they also look like ribbons. So it's a contrast between those are really nice and were like the fanciest thing I put in here. And then these mirrors are from Target. So it's definitely a blend of terms of just like what you love. So again, Target mirrors. This heart chair is from a 1940s French patio set. I actually have 3 of them, and I am still on the hunt for the 4th chair and the matching table. So this is just the thing about searching for things from the past that you absolutely love. I've gotten the chairs 1 off, so I've accumulated 3, and I have to get the 4th and the table. So someday, I think I set an eBay alert and for 2 years before the first chair popped up, so you never know. This is my tiny little guest room, and it used to be my office. I actually flip-flopped the rooms because, again, this was more functional for how I actually use my house, and it ended up being such a cozy, charming little space. So I put up removable grass cloth wallpaper, which I actually installed myself. It's very easy, and I think, it added a lot of color to this room here. So the interesting thing about this room is absolutely everything in here, besides the wallpaper, is secondhand. So I've sourced things from Goodwill and Salvation Army and things from my childhood home, or obviously plenty of thrift stores and junk stores all over the place. So I really liked that everything in here was secondhand, and everything from these drapes I found. I love a chintzy drape, and these were from Goodwill. So I got the 2 panels for like $8, I think, total there. And this is a Henredon side table that I got at Salvation Army for $30. The mirror I got from my favorite thrift store, which is my storage unit. And yeah, all the plates are from Goodwill and Salvation Army. And so it's just a really cozy little guest room. I think probably my favorite thing in here is this Korean secretary that I just found at Salvation Army, and it's hand painted, and I love to write letters. I started a little pen pal program with all my nice girlfriends on Instagram. There's I think I matched 350 people with pen pals, and really all over the world. So that's been really nice to hear people make friends with their pen pals. But I keep all of my letter writing stuff in here. I have a wax seal, so I actually will, melt different waxes and use my little wax seal. So I love to write letters, and I keep all of my letter writing stuff in here. It even has a little secret compartment down there. I don't have the full history on this piece, but how it is and all the little locks and keys, I feel like it was on a ship because of how everything is enclosed. So I've done my research and still trying to solve it, but that's probably my favorite new thing I bought. New old thing. I just flip-flopped my office and my guest room. This is now going to become my office. You cannot see the rest of the room because it's where everything is shoved that doesn't have a home yet. But I think probably my favorite feature that's going to be in my office is this is what I call my ephemera wall. Ephemera meaning something that was just supposed to be temporary that I want to give a longer life to. So, there's a ticket stub for my first concert to NSYNC in 1999 that was sponsored by Clairol's Herbal Essences, to little notes from my parents, or napkins from my favorite places, and yeah, just anything someone has written me that is sweet, and I just love to tack it up here on the wall. Little Polaroids or ticket stubs, postcards. Yeah, it just inspires me of all the things I love. The word home means to me, I think being surrounded by all the things that I love, and if it can't be full of the people that I love because they live in a different place, that their presence is here, and there are things that remind me of them here, things that belong to them here. So to me, that's, home will always just be a place where I feel the safe space. And I've always really liked being surrounded by my things. My mom would say that when I was, before I even learned to walk, when I was just crawling, that if she would turn around for 2 seconds, I'd be trying to crawl up the stairs to go be in my room by myself with my stuff. I like building my surrounding and have this be my safe space.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.